Hello, 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 everybody, in particular Miss Pickles and all of the Year 5 class at Bishop Monkton School in North Yorkshire. My name is Alistair Humphreys. I am an adventurer. You can tell that because my shirt is very scruffy and because my coffee cup is extremely dirty. And I'm also a book writer, and I've written books like The Boy Who Bite the World, which you guys have read. Thank you so much for this. And in this book, Tom goes off to adventure around the world while his sister Lucy is at home. But later, Lucy has her own adventure and rows across the Atlantic Ocean. I myself rowed across the Atlantic Ocean, turned it into this story. I've also written books about how to have adventures, like micro-adventures. There I am, selfie on the cover, and picture books like Great Adventurers. I quite like this book. This has got also picturey sort of book. There's me, apparently. And this is about the adventurers who inspired me to have my own adventures. And I got really into adventures by reading books. And reading books then made me want to go on have adventures around the world. Got my world map up here, and my globe, and my spare legs. And so reading those books made me want to have adventures and made me want to be a writer. So my hope through writing the book that you guys have been reading is that you also might now start to dream of adventures of your own. And you've sent me some fantastic letters. Look at all these letters. These are great. Very neat handwriting. Oliver, who's this? Very neat handwriting. My eyesight is getting so bad. Sylvie, fantastic. Loads of letters. Look at them. There's loads and loads. What a huge amount of work you've put in. I really enjoyed reading them all. Thank you so much. And best of all, they come with lots and lots of questions. Now, Miss Pickles had a nice piece of paper with a question on. Sorry, Miss Pickles, I've lost your questions. Sorry, we'll just have to go with some other ones. First up, we have one from William, who said, did you move out of your parents' house? So before I cycled around the world, I'd been at university, which kind of means that you live at the university in the term time, and then the holidays, like the school holidays, I'd come back to my mum and dad's house in Yorkshire. And that's where I set off from to cycle around the world. When I got back from cycling around the world, luckily, my mum and dad had not moved house in the time I was away. And I got back to their house. But yes, I have now moved out of my parents' house. Although my mum and dad still live in the same house where I grew up when I was little. And that's actually in Yorkshire as well. I know you guys live in Yorkshire, best place in the world. I grew up quite near Malham, a little village near Malham in the Yorkshire Dales. So when I was a teenager and when I was at university, my job was working in the ice cream van in Malham and then in the pub in Malham. Now we have a question here saying, do you still enjoy banana sandwiches? When I biked around the world, I ate a lot of banana sandwiches. They're very cheap. They're very healthy. You can buy them all over the world. They're pretty hygienic. You're not going to get sick from eating them. So I ate a lot. I have to say, when I wrote the book, I did exaggerate it a little bit to make Tom just be obsessed with them. I didn't eat quite as many as Tom did, but I did eat them. And I do eat them now. Although now I'm getting quite posh now. So what I like to do now is make toast, then put peanut butter on, or almond butter if you're feeling really rich, and then slice up the banana on it and then squirt some honey on top. Delicious. Question from Daniel. Did I see any hyenas? Oh, do you hear how I pronounce that? Hyena, like I'm Spanish. Hyenas. Did you see any hyenas or any other unusual animals? What were the most unusual cultures you saw? I did see some hyenas. They have a fantastic, sort of spooky, freaky, laugh-sounding call. Seeing wildlife around the world is a really special part of adventuring, and so too are seeing the different cultures. Unusual cultures. Gosh. Well, I guess unusual. It's hard to say what's unusual because for you think you are normal. So everyone just thinks they're doing normal stuff. So it's hard to say what's unusual. But I guess I will say a couple of examples that are quite different to places around them. So one would be in Ethiopia, the culture, the old culture in Ethiopia of having there's some beautiful underground churches carved out of rock, a place called Lalibela. And Ethiopia has a really unusual alphabet, a really unusual calendar, really fantastic music. It's quite really interesting food. It's quite different to the other countries around it. And then a very unusual culture, given that what most of the continent of Africa is like, would be the Afrikaans culture in South Africa. The Afrikaans people came from Holland few 400 years ago, overland to set up living in South Africa. And they've now formed a really strong national culture. They speak Afrikaans. It sounds quite a lot like Dutch. And they're farmers, very strong, and they are very good at rugby. So that was quite unusual compared to all the other cultures that I passed through and visited in Africa. Max says, what was it like to come back home? That's a really good question, Max. And it's something I didn't think about at all before I went. Before I went on my adventure, I thought, oh, I need to plan this. I need to prepare my bike. I need to get a passport. I need to learn how to prepare banana sandwiches, all the important things of an adventure. I didn't really think about what life would be like afterwards. And I think it's quite hard. So when I got home, it was great to be home, to see my friends and my family. It's really good. I felt proud to have done this big adventure. But I also sort of felt quite empty. I thought, well, I've been around the whole world. What am I going to do today? Go to work and go to the supermarket and put the dishwasher on, I guess. And I've found coming to normal life after adventures quite difficult. But on the other hand, when I'm away on adventures all the time, just out there doing crazy stuff, I dream of a normal life with friends and a community and family and being close to people and having a nice steady routine. So when I'm away, I realize how important all those things are. When I'm home, sometimes I find them a bit boring. Question from Lewis. Lewis has a red frog bike. That is great. Frog bikes are so cool. I really like frog bikes. If any of you really want to get into biking, then frog bikes are so good for children because they're not crazy heavy and impossible to ride. They're really, really good. They're quite expensive, but you can get them on eBay. And also you can rent them by the month. So yeah, ask Father Christmas for a frog bike. Oh, sorry, Lewis. I forgot to actually ask your question. Is your bike incredibly battered and do you still have it? I actually got through. This camera makes me look bright red. Look how red I look. Bright red. Is my bike very battered? Well, I got through 3 bikes going around the world, so they were very battered. And when I got home, my final bike was completely battered. It hardly worked at all. It sort of limped and rattled to the finish line. So to get it all repaired would have cost probably more money than buying a new bike. So I didn't really want to do much biking when I got home. I was quite tired. So it just sort of sat in the garage for quite a long time, a souvenir, I suppose. And then I was tidying up the house and I needed some space and it was completely broken. So I took it to the local tip and I chucked it in the thing with all the scrap metal. So it has now probably been turned into a tin can. Maybe I should have kept it for a souvenir. But what I really liked about going around the world was that I didn't have loads of stuff. My life was so simple. And when you start to just have a house and a home, then you just start gathering stuff in your life. Well, as you can tell from my writing shed where I live now, I mean, look at this. Who honestly needs a pair of legs? Or, you know, when people do fly tipping, when they just dump all their rubbish by their road, which is really annoying, don't do fly tipping. Sometimes you find cool stuff. So I've been finding over the years, and I've been making an art gallery of artwork found dumped in skips. So here I am now collecting junk, but I threw my lovely bicycle in the recycling. Right. Rafe, or is it Rafi? Rafe. You love the outdoors and riding your bike and adventures. And you like exploding hydrogen. Fantastic. So I'm sure you know who you are. Sorry if I say your name wrong. I'm going to go with Rafe. What's your favorite adventure? Gosh, that's a hard thing to choose. But a few years ago, I walked through Spain for 1 month with no money and only the violin to play to earn money. And so if I wanted to earn money and have breakfast, I had to get out my violin in the street and start playing to earn music. You've seen people doing that. The problem is I cannot play the violin at all. So I was so unbelievably bad. So I didn't get much money at all. So it's quite a challenging adventure and very stressful and embarrassing and scary. But in many ways, I think that was one of my favorite adventures. If you want to see how bad I am, look on YouTube at a video called My Midsummer Morning, and you'll see me playing the violin very badly. Eva Dell. Well, we could say it's Eva. I'm going to say Eva says your favorite place in school is the woods because I love wildlife. That's fantastic. You're lucky that your school has woods. That's really important. It's so important for schools to have green spaces, outdoor places, and if they can be a little bit wild, then that is so important. But unfortunately, the government just keeps making school playing fields smaller and smaller and smaller, which is a terrible idea. Florence says, was I scared in some countries? My parents were in the army and they had to eat banana sandwiches. Oh, your parents in the army eating banana sandwiches. Fantastic. You know what? I nearly joined the army. When I was trying to decide what to do, I kind of had 3 ideas for my life. One would to be a teacher. I like being a teacher. You get to share useful information. Some children are very nice. You get really long holidays. But some children are quite annoying. No offense. And so I decided not to be a teacher. And then I thought I would quite like to join the army. Lots of cool stuff in the army. You get paid to run around the hills and you go on some nice hot places. And I thought, yeah, that would be great. I quite like doing that sort of thing with other people. But I kind of got annoyed at people shouting at me a lot and shouting at me to hurry up and then wait somewhere. Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. So then I thought, I'll just go my own way and ride my bike around the world. Anyway, Florence, was I scared in some countries? I was scared a few times. I think if you went anywhere for 4 years, then you'd probably have a few scary things happen. But I was scared much less than I thought I was going to be. If you watch the news on TV, then it seems that the whole world is a really bad, scary, dangerous place. But the reality I found when I was riding my bike in all these different countries was that actually everywhere in the world, people are just nice, normal, decent people like you and me, just trying to get on with our life. Go to school, go to work, hang out with your friends. That's all anyone in the world wants to do. But unfortunately, governments in some countries cause crazy stuff to go on and bad stuff to happen. But generally, when I was cycling, I just felt safe and welcome everywhere. Whatever kind of country I was in, rich or poor, different sorts of religions, different sorts of races, I just felt welcomed as I was traveling through them. And that was one of the very best bits of cycling around the world. Mosquito, go away. Right, question from William Chapman. I like this. Very neat writing. Very good. How tiring was it riding across the world? Very tiring. Very tiring. How glad were you when you saw your friends and family? That's a good question. I was very glad because I cycled around the world on my own. It was fantastic. I met lots of people. I made new friends. I had adventures. But it's also lonely to be on the road for 4 years, not seeing other people. To be in some really difficult places in the world, in deserts and gigantic cities and crossing mountains, and to just have to do it all on your own, it's quite hard. And so to get home and see friends and family was wonderful. And I suppose that is the main reason why, earlier on I talked about how I find life after adventure sometimes quite hard and quite boring. But the reason that I'm not just on an adventure every single day of my entire life is that as much as I love adventures, I love my family and my friends more. And that feels in the long run more important to me than just having brilliant adventures on my bike. This is the final question, and it is a marvelous question. Who is it from? I don't know who this letter is from, but I'll give you some clues. The person who's written it says, that they train on their bike. Aha, here it is. Sapphire Fenton, age 10. Winning letter because you have put on stickers. I love stickers. How old were you when you realized you wanted to travel the world? That's a good question. When I was young, I used to enjoy reading adventure stories, but I didn't think anything of it. I just enjoyed reading the books. Then when I went to university, so when I was about 18 or 19, that's when I really started to enjoy a few things. I enjoyed starting to run over the mountains and go camping and do hard adventure stuff like that. And I also started to realize that I enjoyed traveling to different parts of the world and seeing different countries. And I just started to think then I'd like to combine that. I wanted to try and do an adventure that was really hard, but it would also take me to really interesting places in the world. And because I was a student, I didn't have very much money. So it needed to be a cheap kind of adventure. So rather than go all around the world by helicopter, I thought I'll go around the world on a bicycle. It's a cheap way to have a great adventure. And then I was 24 when I actually got on the bike and began. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. Thank you, the marvelous Miss Pickles, for reading my book with your class. Class 4 and 5, please be nice to Miss Pickles. Teachers are brilliant. And I hope all of you are dreaming now of your own adventures. So thank you for reading my book and good luck with all of your own adventures. Bye.